Good morning, Team Impact. We are moving on. Probably got your quizzes back to you on lessons 1 to 5. Just understand that the material gets more difficult, so you really got to take your time and do this homework. It's not about getting it done, it's just about understanding the concept. So today we're going to be representing ratios with equations. Okay, when I talked to you a little bit about this, where y equals 2x and things like that. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into this, and we'll go from there. All right. So the value of a ratio represents the relationship between two quantities and can be written as an equation. Equation. And what an equation is guys, is all right. One side, and we've talked about this, 3x equals 9. This side will equal this side. That's all an equation is. Now, our equation today is going to have two variables at times, and you'll see what I mean. Okay. All right. So the process column, which is right here, describes what is happening. All right, from getting from x to y. All right, x to y. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. All right. How am I getting from x to y? Well, when you have the same number on your x column and your y column, you need to go down to the next sample. So how am I getting from 1 to 9? Well, I could add 8 or I can multiply it by 9. And generally when we do this, all right, when we go left to right, it's multiplication or division. All right, when we go to the next one, 3 and I'm seeing the pattern now. 3 times 9, right? 6 times 9. So my process here is going to be x times 9, or in this case, 0 times 9. 1 times 9 is 9. 3 times 9 is 27. 6 times 9 is 54. 8 times 9 is 72. So if I ask you to write down the function rule here, okay, right, which they're asking us to do here, the rule would be y equals 9x. And let's talk about that here in just a second here. All right, so let's label what we know. We know that x is the hours worked. So the x variable is represented by the hours worked. Okay. The y variable is the money. All right, is your money. Now, when we look at a description, all right, of this, x is being multiplied by 9. Right? So x is multiplied by 9. And then we come to our equation. Now, when we write our equation, all right, for function tables, we always start with the letter y. How do we get to y from x? Y equals 9x. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to multiply 9 times any number, any value you give me for x to get y. So if I had 10 here, the y value would be 90. If I had 11, it would be 99, and so on down the line. This is important that you're able to write the function rule, all right, or equation. Let's take a peek at number 2. Okay. Peter is training for a bike race and can cycle 20 miles in 1 hour. All right. Well, let's write down what I know. All right. If he's going, here's 1 hour, he's going 20 miles. All right. Now, describe the process and then write an equation. All right. So, 1 mile, 20 hours. No hours, no miles. Right. So we're understanding that it's 1 times 20 and 0 times 20. That is our process. Our process is how we're getting from x to y. We have 2 times 20, which is 40, and go ahead and continue down the line. Okay. So just by giving us this simple function rule, we're able to fill in all the processes, right? Get all of our values for y with x. All right. So describe the process. We're just multiplying it. I'm not going to get crazy with this. By what? By 20. What is our equation? Remember, when we write our equation, we always start with the variable y. Y equals what? Well, any number times 20, all right, will give us y. any number over here times 20 will give us y. Okay, let's press and pause here and look at this for a second here, okay? X, Y, process. Tamara is wanting to buy a new TV and saves $38.50 every month. She's saving $38.50. So 1 month she saved $38.50. Right? And how did I get that? 1 times $38.50. Right? And you're getting the idea. And remember, the first one column's always X, the second column's always Y. I like to label that. All right, so let's go ahead and fill these in. 3 times 38.50, right? And I'm going to go ahead and just write these down because it's important. 7 times 38.50. 9 times 38.50. Okay? And you're certainly welcome to use your calculator for this. I have no problem with that, right? But I'm going to go ahead and fill in these in. So 3 times that is $115.50. 5 times that's $192.50. $269.50. $346.50. So to get from X to Y, we're multiplying it by $38.50. Right? So the process is to multiply by $38.50, and that's money. What is the equation? I always start with my variable of y. Y equals 38.50x. Now, instead of x, we also could call this m, and we also could call this t. It doesn't matter, right? I like to be consistent right now since we're just getting started with this, okay? All right, so let's flip the page and take it to the next phase of this. In the next phase of this, you're going to see that we're going to start to graph, okay? We're going to start to graph. And what I mean by graphing is we're going to use the first quadrant of the coordinate plane, okay? So let's get started here. Use the given information for each situation to fill in the missing representations. All right, our description. A recipe for oatmeal raisin cookies requires 2 eggs for 1 dozen of cookies. Again, this is X and this is Y. 2 eggs, 1 dozen cookies. Right? 4 eggs, 2 dozen cookies. 6 eggs, 3 dozen cookies. Now, let's pause for a second. How are we getting from X to Y? Right? How are we doing that? Well, there's a couple different ways we could get there, right? We certainly could divide it by 2, right? 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, which is probably the rule that I'm going to use. Or you could multiply it by a half. So dividing by 2 and multiplying by 5/10 is the same. So you could do it the same way, okay? But anyway, I'm going to use division. No problem. So my process is what? 2 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, 6 divided by 2, and you fill in the rest if you would. 5, 6, and 7. 8 divided by 2. Okay. Now, if I were to write my function rule here, my equation, and there's a little spot up here. Okay, now I'm going to start it. I'm going to write it 2 different ways. Y equals, right, X divided by 2, or Y equals, right, 5/10 X. Either one of these rules will get us from here to there. And your calculator will show you, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. And I'll just grab my calculator just to prove it for you folks that are just skeptical maybe, which is good. Let's take 8. 8 times, and I said that function rule of 5/10 X. That means to multiply, right? 0.5 equals 4. So it's the same thing. Dividing by 2 and multiplying by 5/10 is the same thing. Now, as we move on, we're going to go ahead and graph this. Now, remember, this is your x coordinate or your x axis. This is your y axis. Okay? So let's do some graphing. X, y. I go over 2 and up 1. You see, the ordered pair would be 2 and 1. The next one, the ordered pair would be 4 and 2. So I'm going to go over 4 and up 2. The next one would be 6 and 3, over up 8 and 2, or excuse me, 8 and 4, over 8 and up 4. So what you're seeing here, okay, what you're seeing here, and I'm not going to write any more than that, all right, is that all of these dots are fitting on a line. So if I would go over to what? 10 and 5. Over 10 and up 5. Okay? And that is right there. All of these dots will fit on that line. And what we call that is a linear function, linear line. Okay? Throwing a lot at you here. Okay. All right, we have one more to chat about. Joey pays his cell phone company, Cell Singular, $30 a month for service. So 1 month, $30, right? 2 months, so you can get that. 3 months, $90. 4 months down the line is $120. 5 months, 5 times 30 is $150. How am I getting from X to Y? Well, it's simple. The process is 1 times 30, 2 times 30, 3 times 30, 4 times 30, 5 times 30, all right? And what is my equation? I always like to start with a variable y. Y equals 30x. Okay. Remember, this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis. Now we're going to go ahead and graph our ordered pairs. And what do I mean by an ordered pair is if I was to write these with parentheses, 1 and 30, it would be like that. So I go over 1 and up to 30, and there it is. If I go over to 2 and up to 60, and there it is. If I go over to 3 and up to 90, and there it is. And what are you noticing? Over 4 and up to 120, there it is. Oh, sorry, 4 and 120. Right? Over to 5 and up to 150, and there it is. All right. So what do we notice? That these are linear. Linear function, linear line. Our equation is y equals 30x. Our process is here. This is the multiplication. A number and a variable side by side means to multiply. Okay. And if I was to continue to write these ordered pairs, all right, 3 and 90, 4 and 120, and 5 and 150. They would be written like that. So if I went over to 6, 6 times 30 is 180. I would go over to 6, up to 180, and guess what? Right there on the line it is. Okay. All right, a lot of new stuff today. Make sure that you're staying in the game, okay? Make sure you're doing nice work showing your equations. You have 2 problems today. We'll start the class tomorrow with some of these on a worksheet. But anyway, please do numbers 1 and 2 for homework. Have a good day, guys.